What's going on guys, Kade is here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the top 3 best solo PvP builds in a new world. So for each and every single build I will explain what attributes and perks you want to have, then what gems and specific gear you want to use. Then as well I will show you the best gameplay of me using the build so you would know which abilities you want to use first on your enemies to get to the highest damage and much more. And last but not the least, I want to mention that in this video I will not put any builds with the life staff, because as a solo player it is already hard enough to find players to fight in open world. So if you're looking for the most broken builds, then check my top 3 healer video. But if you're looking for high damage builds that you can fight 1v2 or even 1v3, then this is the video for you. So then, moving over to the first build, which is the one and only Ice Gauntlet and Rapier. And these are the attributes you want to have. So first things first, no matter from which level you start using this build, you want to get your intelligence to 150 or even 200. And then start building your constitution. And around level 60, you should have 300 intelligence and 100 constitution. And last but not the least, for your gear, you want to be in the light category. And the best setup for your armor is to use one medium chest and the rest gear pieces are light, and this will give you the best damage and survivability. So then moving over to the first weapon, which is the Ice Gauntlet, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all you want to unlock all these 3 perks and then the first ability called the Ice Storm, and then get these 3 next perks. Then from here, now let's move over to the other side and unlock this one perk, and then the second ability called the Ice Shower, and then unlock the next perk to him as well. And lastly, unlock the last third ability with the next perk. And now from this point, you're full free to use your points in whatever order you like. So then let's go over to the second weapon, which is the Rapier. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock, right off from the start, both these 2 abilities called the Evade and Repost. And then afterwards unlock both these 2 perks. Then lastly get the third ability called the Fleech. And now let's take a closer look at the left side and get all these 3 perks. And now from this point and onwards, you're full free to spend your points in whatever order you want. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay where I will show you the best way to play this build. So first of all, we have the Ice Gauntlet and your Q spell is called the Ice Storm, which all enemies standing in it will get damaged and slowed. And the more enemies you hit, the higher damage you will get. Then your R ability is called the Ice Shower, which when using will create an ice wall, and if players go through it, it will stun them. And lastly, the last third ability is basically like an ice block, which by using, you put yourself in a block where players cannot damage you, and you can go out to that ice block by pressing the same F key, or instead press the left mouse button and make it explode, while going out to that ice block, dealing even more damage to the enemies. So then taking a closer look at the second weapon, which is the Rapier. And the first Q spell is called the Evade, which by activating you make yourself invulnerable for a split second. And it can be good in dodging enemy attacks, but you have to know how to use it. So then we have this second ability called the Repost. And it is a reflect, which means that when you activate it and if enemy hits you, you will reflect the incoming damage from you to him. So for example, if he does an F ability on you, instead of you getting hit, he will hit himself. And lastly we have the Fleech ability, which deals damage and provides a small but nice mobility / dash spell. So then the simple and straightforward way to attack a player is of course use your Ice Gauntlet and shoot him from a distance. Then as soon as he gets close to you, activate the Ice Storm ability and go Ice Block. Then when the enemy leaves the Ice Storm or the ability runs out, go to the Ice Block and switch to the Rapier. And then depending on the player, you can auto attack him and use the Repost ability to reflect the damage or evade his shots. And then when you get your cooldowns back up on the Ice Gauntlet, or if you're fighting multiple players and you need a second to get distance and heal up, then either way use the Ice Gauntlet and activate the Ice Shower, creating a wall which players cannot go through, or instead switch to the Rapier and use the Fleech ability to dash into an enemy, so doing damage and at the same time dashing away from him. So like you can tell, this build doesn't have one specific best way to play. My recommendation is to learn what each ability does, and with time and practice you will know what to do against different players and their weapon types. And with all this said, now for my final conclusions for this build. So this Rapier and Ice Gauntlet weapon combination right now is unbeatable in 1v1s or even 1vx for open world PvP. I have seen multiple clips where players using this build could easily 1v3 or even 1v4. So then lastly, a very important part to know for this build is the gems that we are using. So for the Ice Gauntlet, you want to use the pristine emerald gem. Then for your rapier, get the sapphire gem. And for all of your gear, get the Enix gem. So basically, if you're not familiar with how this game works, the rapier and Ice Gauntlet are two different weapons. One is very good with intelligence attribute and the other one with dexterity. But as we mainly have a intelligence build, and using these different gems, we make the weapon switch from one attribute to another one. So now, instead of rapier scaling with dexterity, it scales with intelligence. And by doing this, we make this build do even more damage and just in general stronger. So what are you waiting for? Try this build out for yourself and don't forget to have fun. So now let's move over to the second best DPS build, which is the one and only bow and spear. And these are the attributes you want to have. So basically this build is built around doing a lot of damage, while at the same time being super squishy. And no matter from which level you start using this build, first of all you want to get your dexterity to 200 and then get 50 points in constitution and then continue putting everything else in dexterity. And around level 60 you should have 300 dexterity and 100 constitution. And lastly for your gear, you want to go again with being in the light category, which means using the best setup, aka one medium chest piece and then all the other light equipment. Okay, so then taking a closer look at the first weapon, which is the bow. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first things first, you want to unlock the first ability called the evade shot and then get these two perks. Then after that unlock the second ability called the poison shot and then these two perks. Then now let's take a closer look at the other side and unlock all these three perks. Then lastly let's unlock the last third ability called the rapid shot and then get these two perks, and that's it. Now from this point you're feel free to pick and choose which perks you want to unlock next. So then going over to the second weapon, which is the spear. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all I recommend for you to unlock both these two perks and then the first ability called the sweep. And then these two perks. Then now let's go over to the other side and unlock these two perks. Then afterwards get the second ability and of course the next two perks to him as well. Then lastly unlock the last third ability called the vault kick and then get these two perks. And now again from this point you can unlock all the other perks in whatever order you like. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay where I will show you the best way to play this build. So first of all, let me explain what each ability does and what is the best spell combination to use. So first of all, we have the bow, and the Q spell, aka the evade shot, gives you the ability to leap back while shooting an arrow, and it can be used when the enemy gets super close to you or is about to do a lot of damage, and then you just simply leap back 5 meters, escaping all of his abilities. Then for the second ability we have the poison shot, which shoots an arrow, and when it reaches a target the arrow will explode and create a poison smoke, and players standing in that smoke will be taking damage every second. And lastly our third ability is the rapid shot, which gives you the ability to shoot 3 arrows in 1 to 2 seconds. And then for the other weapon we have the spear, and the first Q ability is called the sweep, which if you hit an enemy makes him drop down to the ground. Then the second ability is called the perforate, and when using it, it does 3 super fast spear attacks, and if you hit a target with all of them then he gets stunned for extra second or 2. Then lastly we have the vault kick ability, and if you land it, it will stun an enemy for 1.5 seconds. Okay, so the best way to attack a player is first of all from a distance shoot him once with a normal attack, and then hit him with the poison shot ability. Then afterwards switch to the spear and close the gap with one heavy attack, which you can do by holding your attack button for an extra second longer, and then use your sweep ability and then activate your reparate ability, which will do 3 super fast spear attacks. Then when the enemy is about to get back up, use the vault kick and keep on auto attacking. When he's finally out of all of your stuns, switch to the bow and use the evade shot to create a distance, and then auto attack plus use the rapid shot ability and finish off the enemy. So this might seem very complicated, but the more you will play, the better you will get. You just most importantly need to understand that when the enemy is further away, use your bow, and when he gets close to you, use the spear, and keep on stunning him with all of your abilities. As soon as you get your bow cooldowns back up, create a distance and finish him off. My most favorite part about this build is that you can fight a player in a distance, but as well in super close 1v1 combat. Okay, so now for my final conclusions for this build. The bow and spear weapon combination right now is super strong and has the highest single target damage from all the weapons in the game. So this build is very good in 1v1 open world PvP, and with just simple adjustments it could be even used in 50v50 wars, PvE expeditions and much more. Just of course you have to consider to play this build it will be a lot harder and take more time to practice aiming, especially at moving targets, because it may seem easy to land an arrow on an enemy but it's actually quite hard, especially when the enemy will be trying to do everything in his power to escape your shots. Then last but not the least, for the bow and spear you want to use the emerald gem, and for all of your gear use the pristine gem. So in a quick summary, if you're looking for a high skilled build that requires a bit more practice but at the end game is very good, then this is the build for you, so enjoy! So now for our third and final build, we have the one and only Great Axe and Hatchet. And these are the attributes you want to have. And just so you would know, this is the best tank/melee DPS build in the game for solo players. And it is even really good for PvP and as well PvE. So then, like you can see, you always want to split all of your attribute points to half. So have 50% into strength and 50 in constitution. And around level 60, you should have 200 strength and 200 constitution. And last but not the least, for your gear, you want to go with full heavy armor. And you can use a shield as well, just to look cooler, but it's not required and won't give you any extra abilities or stats. So it is your own personal preference. So then for our first weapon, we have the Great Axe, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock the first ability called the Reap, and then get these two perks. Then afterwards, unlock the second ability called the Charge, and then get these two perks. Then from this point, now let's move over to the other side and unlock all these three perks. Then lastly, unlock the last third ability called the Gravity Well, and then get these three perks. And now again from this point, you're full free to pick and choose which perks you want to unlock next. So then let's go over to the second weapon, which is the Hatchet. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock the first ability called the Berserk with these two perks. Then afterwards unlock the second ability called the Feral Rush, and then these two perks. Then lastly unlock the last third ability with these two perks. And now from here, let's take a closer look at the other side and unlock this one last perk, and that's it. Now again from this point and onwards, you're feel free to choose in whichever order you want to spend your points. So then let's move over to the gameplay where I'll show you the best way to play this tank build and get out of your abilities the best possible results. So first things first, for your Great Axe Q ability we have the Gravity Well, which you can aim and shoot, and if you hit a target in that electric storm he will take damage and get stunned. Then the second ability is called the Reap, which basically extends your axe for 5 meters. And if an enemy is running away, you can pull him back. And lastly, we have the F ability called the Charge. And this is another dash ability which will deal damage and give you more mobility. And then going straight into the Hatchet, and when attacking an enemy it is super simple. You want to use your Q ability, aka activate the Berserk mode, and then keep on using auto attacks and use the R and F ability, which are just simple damage spells. The best thing about the Berserk mode is that it will give you self-healing and movement speed, so you can use it to run away or run towards an enemy. And as this weapon is super simplistic and straightforward, the only thing that you need to know is that we have unlocked the Throwing Axe ability. So to escape enemy attacks, you won't be able to block, but instead use the heavy armor and dodge their incoming attack. Or on the other hand, switch to the Great Axe and use the blocking system. But because of this, now we can use the Throwing Axe, which you can use to pull mobs or hunt animals from a lot further distance. Or on the other hand, you can finish off players with low health. So how it works, you use the same mouse button that you would use for blocking, so for me it's the right mouse button. And then aim it and shoot it with the left mouse button, and that's it. Just of course keep in mind that every axe throw will consume your stamina, so use it as much as you can, but never get below 20% stamina, so then you would get it back super quickly. And then as far as your weapon combinations go, when attacking a player, first of all you want to use your Great Axe and activate the Gravity Well, and then follow that up with the Charge ability. Then when an enemy is about to run away, use your Reap ability and pull him back. Then now switch to the Hatchet and activate the Berserk mode and keep on using normal attacks, plus the R and F ability which we already looked into, but they are just normal damage spells. And last but not the least, if you're fighting against a melee build, then in between fights, remember to block. So do 1 or 2 light attacks and block, and keep on doing that. And when you fight against a ranged player, try to run around and dodge his spells with the jumps and moving your character from one side to another. By doing this, you can still move forwards and attack a player, but you make it a lot harder to hit you while you are closing the distance. Okay, and now for my last and final conclusions for this build. This hatchet and great axe weapon combination right now is super strong, and as you're using a full heavy armor, you can easily fight 3 or even 4 players just by yourself. For more practice with this build, I would recommend to play a few matches in Outpost Rush, which you can do after level 60, or just go into the open world flagged and have fun dominating everyone. And then lastly, I almost forgot to mention this, but for your hatchet, use the opal gem. Then for your great axe, use the jasper gem, and then for all of your gear, get the diamond gem. So if you're looking to be super tanky and hard to kill, but as well have the ability to do a bunch of damage as a solo player, then this is the build for you, so don't forget to have fun. And that's about it. So I really do appreciate everyone for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other good solo player builds that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe, and enable that notification bell. So this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I will catch you in my next video. So take it easy. Peace.